Anything happening lately, in or out today?
No, nobody will be going out. I said that last week. I'm not looking to loan anybody out. I think the numbers are a bit tighter and I prefer it that way. We might look at one or two of the younger ones potentially going out, but that doesn't necessarily need to be done before the window, and it won't be, so we might look at that after the window, maybe loan them into the Championship or the Scottish Leagues, but in everything else we're still trying to bring someone in. We're working, everybody's working really flat out to try and do that. We've got one in particular and two or three other plates spinning, but we're trying to lean on everything possible to try and get this done. So good support from the board, good support from my recruitment team, and staff are just trying to make sure we can try and deliver a signing.
Optimistic as we sit here at this point?
I think we're optimistic. I think you've got to be. I think we're optimistic without being overly confident. I mean, at this stage it's the transfer window, but it only really moves. You see that now, the last day or two, and there's that chain when someone becomes available that you've been after, that there's more than one club after them. So we're in the mix. I think it's safe to say, to try and make a sign.
How's your squad for the game?
So we're good to go with that. Corey Ndab is out. He missed last week at Motherwell, which was our first real forced change. Corey picked up an ankle issue against Celtic late on in the game. We were hopeful that last week it wasn't anything too significant, and we protected him with a boot most of the week. But on Friday it became clear that it was still a bit too much discomfort, and we got him checked out by a specialist at the beginning of the week, and unfortunately he's going to miss certainly the next 2 or 3 games, including Saturday. I'm absolutely delighted with that, because there was a wee feeling that he might have been missing a lot longer. So, but Corey's had a similar injury before, and he's a very positive boy, and he thinks he'll get back. Maybe he'll certainly miss tomorrow, and maybe 2 games after the international break.
Did that skew your thinking in terms of bringing somebody else in?
No, not really. No, we brought young Tom Davis from Cardiff, and we have kept money back really for the forward areas, and that's what we'll look to try and utilise that. We'll have to deal with injuries as best we can. As I said, I'm pleased with the level of squad, the level of player we've got in the squad, and I just but like everything, sometimes you can have too many numbers, and we've tried to utilise the budget to make sure we've got a competitive squad, but not too many at the same time.
First time this season you've had to bounce back from a defeat.
Yeah, and that's the intention. We've got to go and show that. I think we're annoyed at ourselves that we've not took a point from the game anyway. You have to say that Motherwell were the better team in the second half, and we should have got out of there with at least a point. It was no more than we deserved, I felt, in terms of level of performance. We need to accept that when we're on the road we're not going to get everything our way, but I thought the level of performance, particularly first half and in spells second half, was very good. So if we can get close to that level of performance, if we can get ourselves front tomorrow, then it's important that we've recognised those improvements that need to be had when we're winning games. But it's been a decent start, a strong start. If we can be a top 6 team before we get into the split and be in the quarterfinals of the Cup, we're looking forward to that one when it comes round, then we've got to be pleased with that. So we've got work to do tomorrow to try and do that. The players are annoyed themselves really that we allowed at least a point to go within our grasp in the last second of the game, and hopefully say we bounce back tomorrow.
That good start's been reflected in the record season ticket sales for
Yeah, absolutely delighted. I was told that through the week. I think we've got a really strong younger squad, younger fan base as well, under 21s. It's most it's ever been, and it's important we try and tap into that and grow that as much as we can. I think it's testament to everybody, not just the players and the performances, but everybody within the club who are driving that. We are a club that we feel we can get more support in. We've threatened at that, we've shown that in spells over the last, even in my time here, and it's important we try and maximise that as much as we can. But everybody at the club, from the board to the players, we've mentioned it to the players, everybody's really delighted with the response for the fans, and I do feel that they've kind of they're encouraged and optimistic about what they're seeing so far. And I think cup runs and everything helps that, but I think the strong start we've made, and it's important that we try and keep that going. Of course it is.
With the number of season tickets that have been announced this week, has that freed up more funds for you to sign some more players this year?
No, but I'm sure, if we have to ask the question, the board have always tried to be really successful. I know what I'm working with, and it's important for me to try and put a competitive squad there with the budget that's afforded to me. But listen, it's more than just a budget that the club needs these season tickets holders for. But ultimately, the more people that come in through the turnstiles, the better we can do in cup runs. Then ultimately that drips back to myself and try to put a squad together. But we've got a budget we're working towards, and we're still to try to utilise that hopefully in this window in the next coming hours.
We've seen 3 Scottish teams in Europe this week, and they've all kind of struggled as such. As a manager who has managed a Scottish team in Europe, how different a challenge is that?
I think a couple of clubs in particular had a really tough hand. I think Hearts had a tough draw, and I think Hibs certainly. Hibs wasn't. I don't think anybody within Hibs were expecting to win that one. So you would have to say that. I think Aberdeen will be disappointed that they've not managed to beat Hacken after beating them so comfortably the last time. But there's no easy games in Europe, and it's Aberdeen have got to fall back to the Conference League. That's some sort of consolation for them, but it's it was disappointing week for us for Scottish clubs, but it's I'm sure that there's better to come in the years ahead. I'm pretty sure. I think Celtic and Rangers have shown over the last few years what can be done, and the coefficient's high as a consequence of that. And it's important we try and keep that coefficient high at all clubs. We've all got responsibility for that.
You've been linked with a vacant job at Hibs, Derek. How do you deal when your name is linked, with vacant jobs at clubs? Nothing
changes, to be honest. I think for me, I've committed to Kilmarnock and they've committed to me. I'm really enjoying what we're doing here. This club for me has. We've only just scratched the surface, and we're looking to try and keep driving it on. So, any distractions, either way, whether it's good or bad, I think it's important that we just concentrate on the job, and that's exactly what we're doing. My focus is just trying to have our club to have the strongest season possible, to be honest. And hopefully we can make a signing today that will help us with that.